I'm Corinne Cavanaugh, and you're listening to Lightning Speed, the podcast where marketing leaders who engineered revenue growth at Fortune 500 companies share the blueprints that help small and medium-sized businesses grow quickly. Today, you're going to hear the best advice from Brandon Smith, a B2B and FinTech growth executive who took Plainsight from 8 million to 50 million ARR in 12 months. 6 times growth while simultaneously reducing cost per lead by 30%. He generated 2 million in influence pipeline at Blast Point with a single white paper campaign. And he led marketing through Delhivery's IPO on the New York Stock Exchange while driving 130 million in ARR at the same time. If you're running a B2B or FinTech business and you are ready to stop spraying and praying and start building the type of pipeline that converts fast and compounds, Brandon is your guy. Here's what I love about Brandon. He thinks about buyers the way storytellers do. He does not just find the right company, he finds the right person inside that company at the right moment when the pain is real and the urgency is now. In this episode, Brandon breaks down how he grew ARR 6x while cutting costs, why IBM done right is surgical, not scalable necessarily, the MarTech mistake killing ROI, and how to target both the buyer and the person holding the pain, and what it takes to run an IPO while doing growth marketing at the same time. Buckle up. This is a good one. Let's go. At Plainsight, you scaled ARR from 8 million to 50 million in 12 months. That's 6x growth. Pretty wild. You also reduced CPL by 30% while doing it. Most CMOs really think you have to spend and choose between growth speed and efficiency. So how did you do those two things at the same time?
First, don't waste it. And the most important thing is to make sure we're targeting the right triggers. It's not just about people, brand awareness. This is real money. So we need to get that ROI immediately. So the truth of the source, find the people with the problem, talk about the actual risk and make sure you're touching the right people that are really in the weeds at the moment. And what I was really capable of or able to do with my awesome team is really target the right people who have the right problems at the right time. Because of our specific targeting, afflicting the right people who are in the moment of, I don't know what to do, I just need this thing solved. Communicate those pain points at the right time in the direct channels so that CAC payback can show your proof of purchase, your true source, where that spend goes. And that's when we started to see we're hitting the right people. And then once you hit the right people, then you start to amp up the spend. Now that we're hitting the right people, we're getting the right feedback. Now we can apply scale by let's throw more money at it, make it rain, and then the money just continue to scale. 1x, 2x, 3x, now we hit the sweet spot.
At Delhivery, you marketed through their IPO on the New York Stock Exchange, while also launching OS 1 in the Americas, driving 130 million in ARR. This is pretty cool. So you improved MQL and quality by 30%. Most companies treat IPO marketing and growth marketing as separate functions, and it's kind of a delicate time. So what's the actual cost, and how do you achieve those numbers if narratives aren't aligned?
It was probably, the best of times and the worst of times, to quote Charles Dickens at the same time. You kind of hit the nail on the head. You're really marketing in two different approaches there. There's a brand narrative strategy that's going on with the IPOs, a lot of focus there on, founder-led, nuances and content, but there's also, the general marketing that's going on with building the organization, sustaining, our numbers, our leads, our growth. Those things are simultaneously going on at the same time, and putting a spotlight to the founder-led content, our backstory, who are we serving, is a really huge distraction when it comes to, general business operations. So we almost literally had to operate as two different entities. I had to split the team because the team was so large. Fortunately, we had, home office in India, where I was able to leverage some of the team members in India versus, my remote teams to curate, okay, we need a separation of content. We need a separation of strategy, a separation of execution, on all these different channels and curating a story while building brand at the same time that had us operating as quote unquote two different business functions. And so it really aligned to structure, real focus, structure, and intense execution, because our nuance of, our analytics were going to show differently. We needed traffic in these specific areas to go for our IPO. We needed MQLs and SQLs closing simultaneously on another end, obviously another operative focus on our, our website. So for the lead, so there were multifaceted approaches to making sure our brand awareness is going out, our stories are going out, but at the same time, we're making sure that business is still functioning while not distracting them from what we're doing, on the IPO brand side. So yeah, a lot of separation. And so because we had the right people at the right place with a lot of structure, we were really able to curtail brand narrative and marketing, marketing focus on building business simultaneously, which fortunately for us, work simultaneously, because one machine was working successfully, the other was working successfully. So by focus of those two operatives in the marketing execution, they helped each other. It was, a symbiotic relationship on all sides, because of that dedicated focus.
That's amazing that you were able to drive down into that level of complexity, right? Separate the teams, getting them working on different rhythms for different goals, but achieving at the same time. Pretty impressive.
I would say stressful time, but man, what an amazing success.
In FinTech C-suite campaign at Blast Point, you generated 2 million in influenced pipeline with a CFO's AI playbook. So maybe a white paper that got over 200 downloads, 60% from target accounts. That's amazing. Most content marketing generates downloads, but no actual pipeline that converts. What did you do differently that actually moved forward the deals?
I love this question because I think a lot of people can use this. A lot of marketers need this in their content marketing strategy. The key is to make sure ultimately you target two people. You target the buyer and you target the person who's really holding the pain. For anecdotal reference, me and my wife, we obviously function differently in the household. If we have a leaky faucet, that's really quote unquote dad's problem to fix. But it's really mommy's pain because daddy doesn't want to fix it right now. And because daddy doesn't want to fix it right now, it's mommy's, reoccurring pain. So you have to make sure to keep poking the bear, keep poking mommy. Hey, you have a husband who didn't want to fix a leaky faucet? There's an ad. Same, likewise, when you're targeting, people in your target market, it's not always a person that is the purchaser. That is the person that's ultimately going to drive the impetus to purchase. So you need to make sure in your content that you're attacking both people so that they can symbiotically, work together. The alt of that ad would be, you got a nagging wife? Well, yeah, but she's nagging me because this ad keeps telling her that I'm the problem. We can stop your nagging wife. Call us to fix your leaky faucet. Oh, she'll think you did it. Something like that, like, great. I'm gonna call now. Your wife comes back to you and says, husband, you fix that leaky faucet? Don't worry, I got it on Friday. That's all that needs to be said. You got the result, you targeted the right people simultaneously. And by virtue, that's how we should be marketing anyway. At the end of the day, marketing really ties to our emotive behavior. So we need to make sure that our output and our content not only educates and talks about the problem, but really you're really picking the scab. You're making it worse, making them feel the pain and the anxiety. Once you start to, put that out in the content, the people will really start to respond. You'll see conversions, letting people know, hey, we'll help you and we can help you get that fixed in 15 days. 15 days? Well, we can help you if you start today. The problem can be fixed in X amount of time. Always use an ROI metric that helps, at the end of the content. That's the conversion metric that helps them know how long it'll take for the problem to be resolved. And again, that's how I like to, output content that drives X amount of results. It's really, again, emotive, attack the pain, and make sure you can align that through the buyer journey through your campaigns.
I love that you brought up having the asset and the campaign attack multiple people because you have your primary buyer, but then you have all of these influencers around them. So we see this as a huge strategy in B2B, right? Like
Yep,
if you're going B2B, it's not only the CEO you need to be
that's right.
targeting, you need to be targeting everyone who's in his ear. So I think that's just a brilliant strategy, and I can see now why. that playbook really got you where you are. Okay, Brandon, let's talk about the tech stack. So you work with MarTech stacks, including Salesforce, 6sense, Demandbase, HubSpot, GA4. There are so many of them, and you've worked with many of them. So at one client, you overhauled their stack and they reduced CAC by 30% while improving conversion by 25%. So knowing you did that, what's the most common MarTech mistake that's secretly killing marketing ROI?
Great cliche. I've heard numerous times. I like to say there's too many chefs in the kitchen. Just to be frank, there's only one chief. And because of that, I think a lot of marketers think the more tools I have in my kitchen, the better all the results I'll get. That's not the truth. I've learned this, from working in the kitchen to understanding the way marketing actually works. More tools don't necessarily mean better efficiency or better quality. If you apply that to taste, it's not the way it works. You need to have a few tools that can do the amazing work and put out that efficiency. But ultimately, if you're using, a multitude of tools for the MarTech stack, it's really about having ownership of those MarTech stacks, having a person dedicated on the team to own that function with that specific tool. For reference, have one dedicated person that's like, hey, I'm the Salesforce girl. All she does is make sure that all the data going in the Salesforce matches, it reads, it syncs, it comes out, the input, the output, everything is 1000% efficient. So when somebody says, hey, can I get this? Or, hey, I need this input, she's like, nope, it's not, it wasn't handed to me right. She's the rejection. She's the guard that says, nope, it doesn't meet my expectation. You can't use me. And obviously the output won't be, bad data in, bad data out, misaligned tools and resources, and then use it for the next thing. Just like I said, that's the CRM function. You do the same thing for your 6sense. Make sure you're having the right filters applied. Having a dedicated person for the specific tool will help everyone not have to be a master of many, just be the master of one. And each person owns a dedicated tool. That's their specific area of expertise. They manage it. We all work with it. Hey, put this into that. This person delivers, just like a line chef at your favorite restaurants. They know their role. They pass it along. It fits right in. And then you start to see the results like, oh, because this was great, the output, because all the output and the data was working well and everyone's synced, then you start to get efficiency on the output of your marketing function. You start to see, okay, now we can get more aligned here. Now our nuances here. Oh, here's what I'm seeing in Salesforce. Here's what I'm seeing in the Demandbase. And because of these things, they become experts in seeing these key insights. And that's where you start to drive the efficiency toward the metrics that really help drive your North Star.
Quick point, and this one directly ties into what Brandon just shared about MarTech stacks, because getting your tech and your AI modernization right now is what controls your velocity, right? With those new tools and those new workflows and systems, your velocity can increase rapidly if you're building out your AI marketing strategy in a way that actually works. So if you want a framework, download the Scale framework. It's free. Scale stands for Systems Audit, Content Guardrails, Automation with Checkpoints, LLM Discoverability, and Evidence-Based Measurement Scale. It's a 5-part system I wrote for embedding AI into your marketing operation the right way so you can move fast without making moves that hurt you. You can go get it free at cac-media.com/pod. And if you're past the strategy phase and you're ready to move right now, we built something called the AI Modernization Jumpstart. It's a 2-week chief marketing officer led engagement by one of the people on my team or me. We audit your marketing tech stack, identify the highest impact AI moves for your specific business, and hand you a 5 prioritized recommendations plus a step-by-step workflow blueprint to get your first AI workflow running. It's flat fee, 2 weeks, and then you're done. So you can learn more at cac-media.com/pod. Links are in the show notes. Okay, back to Brandon. Let's talk about targeting. So you ran a persona-based ABM campaign at Blast Point that improved SQL quality by 45% and achieved over 3x ROAS on paid media. What's the one targeting or messaging principle that separates 3x ROAS from mediocre performance?
That is really focused. That's surgical approach. I think what's missing in the output of ABM is understanding that it's surgical. This is not something that's for everybody. ABM should not be your largest growth engine, if I will. I think a lot of marketing organizations and maybe perhaps push down, they think the execution for ABM is really, we have a targeted list. That's just the beginning. You really have to get surgical in your account-based marketing initiatives. Otherwise, it's going to ABM always be messy. That's not what ABM is. It's super targeted. It's like a child. I've got 3 children. And if you know anything about being a parent, sometimes children know best. If you ask the right person, you'll get a different response. Ask mommy this question, ask daddy this question, they'll figure it out. Or just ask mommy, don't go ask daddy. And so with a lot of account-based marketing initiatives, you really need to know who to ask and is it the right time. So it takes a lot of research to make sure you're seeing signals in the market that say this person's actively ready for this conversation. And if they're actively ready for the conversation, they need the solution today. It's not a let's wait in 6 months. No, that's a demand campaign. That's something you do on a larger scale. Account-based marketing is really surgical. You know the messaging, you know when they need it, you know how bad they're ailing, and you target them specifically. That's way you can attribute, conversions, and cost of acquisition is super low, and then you can apply the scale. That's the measurement tool for how to curate that list.
Here's one thing to remember about what Brandon said. Find the people with the problem, talk about the actual risk. Make sure you're touching the right people who are really in the weeds at the moment and need the most help. That's it. That's the whole marketing game. Not more leads, not more tools, not more campaigns. The right people with the right pain at the right time. Get that right, and everything else, your CAC, your conversion rate, your pipeline velocity, it all gets better at once. And I love his take on ABM, account based marketing, because it is so clarifying. ABM is supposed to be surgical. It is not your largest growth engine, it's your sharpest one. Use it that way. Brandon is a fractional chief marketing officer on my team and one of the most energetic and creative revenue thinkers I know. If your B2B or FinTech pipeline needs a serious upgrade, he's the person I would call. Share this with a founder or CEO who's spending on demand gen and wondering why the pipeline is not exactly working. Growing a company is lonely work, and they will be so glad you've thought of them and shared this. I'm Corinne Cavanaugh. This is Lightning Speed.